And now we welcome Professor Wawrzyniec Konarski, a political scientist. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on TVP World.
Good afternoon. And I hope, of course, we're having to have a good discussion right now.
Well, it's quite a complicated one, but...
Yes, it is. It is rather complicated. So at the moment, we're looking at these allegations regarding illegal voting in which Maciej, Wąsik and Mariusz Kamiński participated in towards the end of last year. But we know that this build-up towards this particular event that is making the headlines at the moment is much more complex. So would you be able to bring to our international viewers the details that actually brought this situation to the headlines? And I'm asking particularly about the years, the early 2000s.
The problem lies entirely, in fact, I'm not the lawyer, so any sort of the analysis I'm going to make in a very short words definitely will touch upon my views as a political scientist. So I think the problem lies in the fact that this is the issue or phenomenon which may be called as a word against word. But the problem is also involved in the issue that Mr. Wąsik and Mr. Kamiński are trying, of course, all the time to present their views about what has happened with them, whether the representatives of the Polish state, including judiciary, are, of course, having completely different views. However, if we look upon the fundament, and fundament, of course, is the court decision which has been undertaken on the 20th of December last year. And this decision has been rather negative for both persons. Namely, they were deprived of to be the representatives in the Polish lower chamber of the parliament, in the Sejm. So since that time, officially saying and legally saying, they are not the members of the parliament anymore. But, of course, on the other hand, they try to impose on the public opinion perception of the case a certain presumption that they are the political prisoners, that they are the persons who are treated very badly or in a bad way by the state authorities. And because of that, they still demand, of course, to be recognized as full-time public representatives.
Right, and actually, I'm going to interrupt you because this is, I think, this is the heart of the matter. So I think we all agree that when President Duda pardoned them the second time after the verdict became legally binding back in December, well, then I think we can all agree that the criminal liability for the pair disappeared with that presidential pardon. And I guess my biggest question right now is, why did just the criminal side, the actual term in prison, why did that part disappear, but the consequences, the legal consequences of being convicted didn't disappear?
They did not disappear because this is a sort of the political tool in the hands of both persons. They try, of course, still to maintain that, as I have said already, political prisoners, which I'm not sharing as the political scientists. I think they overuse this interpretation on behalf of both of them and go directly to the certain conflictual issues in order to place themselves in a certain shade, in a certain position to be the victims of the new administration, of the new government, which has come to power last autumn. So the problem is, unfortunately, quite strongly affiliated to the certain tensions in politics we are having in Poland. And I'm afraid that both sides are absolutely unready to find a certain way to do certain compromise. Compromise means not to maintain that those persons are political prisoners, as they want to do and what they claim all the time. But also from the second side is also the situation in which the governing forces right now, they are very closely related to the ideological issue, which means that they say they're trying, of course, to liquidate some of the bad consequences of the former ruling of the Law and Justice Party. And in this party, both persons were rather prominent members. So they are rather, at the moment, I mean, Wąsik and Kamiński, they're rather ready, of course, still to maintain this position because they think it will be also a good asset for them to be still active in the political activities life in Poland these times.
Right. Well, half of supporters of law and justice see them as heroes. Supporters of the coalition or other side of the aisle, the other side of the political aisle, see them as something very different. People that are definitely against the rule of law and have broken the law with impunity. But actually, doesn't this case kind of in a way, if we look at the time that Law and Justice was ruling and the time that the coalition came into power, doesn't this show us all that basically whoever controls the government controls the legal initiative and therefore can have it their way according to the judiciary? Doesn't this highlight needs for maybe reforms to the judiciary?
So, I mean, answering your question, I think we have to go directly to the specific circumstances of political tensions we are having. We are very strongly involved, unfortunately, in a sort of the challenges, mutual challenges formulated by both sides, which means we are in the state of the society, or we are in a society which is very strongly tribal one. There is no rather readiness, as I said, to understand another option. And the tribalism, political tribalism we are facing right now has been unfortunately petrified in a very strong way by the former ruling equipe. And the narration which we can observe and which we are listening to right now is also strongly affiliated to this sort of the perception of the political conflict. It means that if the tribalism is so strong as it is right now in Poland, there are no any sort of the readiness from the both sides to understand another side. And this is definitely something which is very wrong because, of course, within the democratic societies, it's absolutely obvious that people are divided in terms of the ideology, in terms of some of the social, political, and economic activities. The problem lies in the fact when also politicians, and this is unfortunately something which is done by both politicians, if politicians are trying to accuse the state for the misbehavior, and this is the case of Kamiński and Wąsik, and simultaneously both politicians forget, unfortunately, that they have been doing also very many bad things when they were having the places in the administration. Simply speaking, they are accused also for the misbehavior during the times of the Law and Justice. And I try to be, of course, objective political scientist in this matter, but I think that we are having certain problem which is ideological, which is perceived as the political tribalism, and problem which unfortunately undermines the position of the Polish state, especially in its legal aspect. Politician who is not going to overuse his or her position should really be under should really obey the decisions undertaken by the courts. And this is not done by both politicians, unfortunately.
Right, which is why it is so essential to have the division of powers in a democracy and an independent judiciary. Well, sir.
Indeed. More dialogue, I suppose, and let's focus on what is called revenge, I think. I think that's a key word that is being used these last few days. Professor Wawrzyniec Konarski, political scientist, thank you very much for your comments and for your insight.